So we wanted to go through the Signpost uncommons that show up in Limited. And for a couple reasons, one, to give you a sense of what the Limited environment wants you to do in the color pairs. Mm-hmm. And two, recently, a lot of these Signpost uncommons have found their way into Constructed.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yes, they are often pretty pushed. The fact that they're gold kind of limits their utility in Limited, where your mana base is usually garbage.
Yeah, but not so much in Constructed, where your mana base is good.
Yeah, mana base is good. Red-green is not that hard to cast in your red-green deck.
Correct.
You should be able to do that every turn, too.
Yeah, I would hope so.
The first one of these is Brushfire Elemental.
This is the red-green one.
It is the red-green. It is red-green for a 1/1 with haste. Get him, buddy. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Still would seem to eat him. But then there's Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, Brushfire Elemental gets +2/+2 till end of turn. So like on turn 3, he just gets to bash as like a 3/3.
Or more if you can trigger Landfall multiple times.
Yeah. And there's a lot of ways in the set to get more than one Landfall trigger at a time. Like there's always, in each Zendikar set, there's been an aggressive red-green Landfall deck. And this is kind of the plant for that. There's a common that is the red Step Links, an 0/1 that gets +2/+2 when you have Landfall. Yeah. Like if that's good enough, plus this, like that could find its way into Constructed.
I like the, I mean, we'll talk about it in a little while here, but the Scoot Swarm also, I think is pretty good for maybe not an aggressive Landfall deck, but certainly a payoff for a Landfall deck.
So next...
Now, that thing's an Elemental also. Do we still care about Elementals?
I don't think, the Cavaliers and Risen Reef all went away, and Omnath. I don't think we care about Elementals in Standard anymore.
All right, next up we have the black-white gold card. It's a Cleric of Life's Blood. It's a white and a black for a 2/2 Vampire Cleric. And this is kind of Cleric Tribal, is what he's telling you to do. It says, whenever another Cleric enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. Whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Cleric of Life's Blood. So a little bit of Vampire stuff, a little bit of life gain stuff, a little bit of Cleric stuff.
What probably holds it back in Constructed is the fact that it just has to be clerics that you gain life off of, which is going to kind of limit it. Like these kind of cards usually just prefer to like when a creature comes into play.
Is Vito a cleric?
Yes.
He plays pretty nice with this.
He does. The fact that this is kind of its own Ajani's Pridemate, like as long as you build around it, it is both the life gain engine and the payoff. If you just are playing like mono clerics.
It's a worse Ajani's Pridemate because it only gets 1+1/+1 counter a turn.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. A significantly worse than Johnny's Pridemate. I apologize to you, Johnny's Pridemate. My bad.
Yeah.
Next up, it's Carrigan War Leader.
Yeah.
1 red-white, human warrior for a 3/3. Other warriors you control get +1/+1. I guess the red-white deck wants to be aggressive?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It wants you to play warriors.
Find cards that say Type Line Warrior. Put those in deck.
Seems good.
This is one that, like, again, for Constructed, same with our Vampire Cleric guy, all these, like, creatures that are parts of parties, if you put on, like, the long-term vision and look to our not core set, but Dungeons and Dragons set in the summer, all of these things that care about the different party subtypes could get really good in a Dungeons and Dragons themed set.
Yeah, you think we're going to have 2 sets with the same mechanic in Standard at the same time?
Maybe not party.
I mean, it would make sense if they did, though.
It would make sense. It would be weird, but it would make sense. But 2, like, they're just going to have warriors and clerics and rogues and wizards and dragon sets. So you're just going to put a bunch more, or these types of creatures, into Constructed.
We also have Kaldheim, which I'm sure is going to have a bunch of Viking warriors in it.
Oh, it has to.
And then we have Strixhaven, which would be insane if we didn't have wizards in it.
They're gonna make sure there's a bunch of these.
Yeah, maybe that's why they started trickling in rogues like earlier than we got clerics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just because like they didn't have a good place to put them in. Like coming, like you don't think of Viking rogue, but Viking warrior we can do, and I guess you could put clerics and wizards at the school.
Yeah, I mean you could put clerics and Vikings too.
But again, rogue seems to be harder, so you like see that earlier.
Next up is the Simic gold card. It's Lull Mage's Familiar. It's a 2/4 beast. You can tap it to add a green or a blue. and whenever you cast a kicked spell, you gain 2 life.
Is he in the backpack? Wearing the backpack? What is he doing with the backpack?
It's better not to ask.
Probably right. I hope the backpack got dinner first. I don't know. I mean, it's a 2/4. It's a decent body. These really haven't worked in constructed, but
3 mana is a lot to spend for your mana dork.
yeah, but just in limited, the fact that it's a 2/4 makes a pretty big brick wall.
Obviously, this wants to ramp you, and
Like
the
kicker
ramp.
spells.
Yeah, the ramp will give you mana so you can cast your kicked spells. So kind of obvious what that one wants you to do.
Speaking of kick spells,
Yeah.
they have Moss Pit Skeleton with
Mhm.
kicker 3. If it was kicked, it enters with 3 +1/+1 counters. It's normally a 2/2.
Okay, so
kick
for
it.
5 mana, it's a 5/5.
Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, if Moss Pit Skeleton is in your graveyard, you may put it on top of your library.
That doesn't seem great.
Yeah, I was reading it and I was like, battlefield? I was like, no. Hand?
No.
No. Top, no. Like, this is the, it eats a draw step. Unless a 2/2 for 2, or perhaps a 5/5 for 5, is exactly what you need.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't do anything for you. Now, in limited,
Right.
this is great. You, put a counter on something and you're just like, I'm going to draw power and toughness.
Right, that's what I was just going to say. This card is much better in limited, especially if you got 2 or 3 of them.
And constructed, less so. Next up,
Yeah, this is Marasa Root Grazer. It's the Selesnya gold card, green and white. It's a 2/3 beast with vigilance, and you can tap it to put a basic land from your hand onto the battlefield, or you can tap it to return a basic land you control to its owner's hand.
so the basic land writer is a major drawback, but this is enough of a percentage of growth spiral.
I don't know if it's worrisome for constructed or not.
My first thought was like, oh, they just made it so growth spiral attacked and blocked. Like, you just got the card you draw off your growth spiral is a 2/3, but it incentivizes you to play a bunch of basic lands, and this set does not incentivize you to do that. So it might not just be good enough because of the basic land writer. If it was just land,
It also doesn't ramp like that turn. It ramps the next turn.
ramps to that next turn, yeah.
I don't know if it's quite good enough.
But it still gets you to 4 on 3.
As long as you have a land. That was kind of the hidden mode of Growth Spiral, is a lot of times in your 30 land deck, it drew you a land.
Yeah.
This card's never going to draw you a land. It's going to always draw you a 2/3.
Most of the time better, but when you need your 4th land, it's not. I think that the, Signpost uncommon from Core 21, was it Conclave Mentor?
Oh, yeah. The +1/+1 counter guy.
And, I think that's just more powerful if you're going to make a green-white constructed deck.
I agree.
I think it's going to be the +1/+1 counter aggressive thing, not the, the ramp thing. But
Yep.
this one will see constructed play.
I agree.
This next one.
Yep.
Soaring Thought Thief.
Mhm.
Blue-black for a 1/3 with flash and flying.
Yeah.
As long as your opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, rogues you control get +1/+0.
That sounds kind of familiar.
It does.
Yeah, where have we seen that before? The Thieves Guild Enforcer?
Oh,
Gets
Thieves
Death
Guild-
Touch if you have 8 cards, or your opponent
And
has 8 cards
+2
in their
+1.
graveyard.
Rogues you control, so it actually gives itself the buff as well. So because of 2/3 flying.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. I hadn't noticed that.
And whenever 1 or more rogues you control attack, each opponent mills 2 cards.
So it gets there quick.
It does get there quick. So it puts 2 cards in the graveyard itself if it's your only rogue.
Yep.
Each time it attacks. You've got in rogues, you have Thieves Guild Enforcer. You have Brazen Borrower as a rogue. Rogue Jitsu guy that we get to here in a little bit.
Yeah, there's another one we'll get to in a minute too, Acquisitions Expert.
So there's a reasonable number of rogues
Mhm.
for you to play, and for the most part, they're evasive and they are geared towards this milling thing. So it's something you would do relatively quickly. The counter that people bring up is the fact that it fuels Uro, but you could be in a situation where you just are getting enough damage in quickly. The tempo play, yeah, I see that.
Tie
Of,
into last week.
Yeah, of bouncing your Uro and getting in for a bunch of damage. You don't mind that they gained 3 because you're fine, gain 3 and draw a card. I'll bounce it, and you're gonna take 8. You're gonna play your Uro and you take 8.
Cage rotates, right?
Cage does rotate.
And so does Leyline, but Leyline doesn't work with this anyway.
No, I guess like you could do something like you could play Cling to Dust, which is a little bit of a nombo. I think
We'll have to think on that problem.
Yeah, but I think that the rogues are just going to be aggressive and going to kind of get there. End of your turn, Thieves Guild Enforcer, attack. Then end of your turn, you didn't do anything I wanted to counter. Soaring Thought Thief, put 2 cards in your graveyard. Then play any rogue, attack, mill 4.
Yeah.
Turn this guy on, and you have a 4/2 Thieves Guild Enforcer.
Doesn't Thieves Guild Enforcer mill when any rogue enters the battlefield?
Yeah, so you would mill 2 for when it came in.
Yeah.
2 for when this came in, so you're at 4.
And then 2 for when the Thieves Guild Enforcer attacked after this came in, right?
Well, yeah, they would both. I guess they would both. So you wouldn't even need the third one. It would just be a 4. You would just get your 8th card when you attacked on turn 3. Like you could see this being like a tempo-y, aggressive, like Drown in the Lock is like your main counter spell, and like a few other like pieces of interaction. Yep. And then we've got a deck.
Yeah, this one's rough. This is the Rakdos one. It's Ravager's Mace. It's an equipment. When Ravager's Mace enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each creature in your party and has Menace. And it equips for 2 black-red.
Not great.
No, I guess they couldn't give us more fuel for a sack deck, though, right?
Thank God. This is the second time in a year they were like, "Hey, red-black, you get an equipment."
Yeah,
Enjoy.
And you're gonna like it.
I have a hard time playing equipment limited, let alone constructed.
When we were on Eldraine, though, I did notice that the equipments that self-attach when they enter
are good.
They did play much better than equipments that you then have to spend mana to attach.
Yeah, this is basically an enchantment the first time. It's an enchantment that sticks around. So, like, in that regard, it does, like, ease the pain. If they didn't have the it attaches clause, it would cost, like, 7.
Yeah.
So you can actually get something like, hey, 3 black, red. Get +2/+0.
Yeah, that's tough.
Woo. But, yeah, I think that I guess this is like be aggressive, and we'll give you a little bit of evasion for your like dorky ground creatures.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like party synergy.
It might just be that there are so many rogues and warriors and stuff, and like red black.
Yeah.
This is just kind of like default on accident. You can't help it, but it be like +2/+0
or +3/+0.
Yeah, like the 4th type might be hard, but it might just be like, oh, my 2-drop and my 3-drop is a rogue and a warrior. Then I play this, and okay, I get something. Yeah, I kind of tricked you into having to read that one.
No problem.
All right, and then we have Spoils of Adventure.
Oh, okay.
For 4 blue-white,
okay,
you get an instant. It costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party. It live the dream, and it be blue-white. And what do you get for living this dream? You gain 3 life and you draw 3 cards.
Seems like an awful lot of work for 3 life and 3 cards.
It reads like a card that's like a control card. It wants you to have a bunch of creatures. It's not like it meshes well.
What's Aven Mind Sensor? That's a bird wizard, right?
He is a bird wizard.
I guess that's not legal, though, so it doesn't matter.
It is not legal. If you want to play Historic, you can bust out your Aven Mind Sensor.
Yeah.
Why wasn't that card getting played when we had Hour of Promise? Like, couldn't you just like mind sensor people? Just get them. Like they tap their 5 mana for Hour of Promise, and you just get them. Like 3 mana flash, 2/1 flyer. Put your Hour of Promise into the trash can. That was a golden opportunity we missed.
We did. All right, so our last signpost uncommon here is our one. It's Umara Mystic. It's a 1/3 flyer for 1 blue-red. It's a Merfolk Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant, sorcery, or wizard spell, Umara Mystic gets +2/+0 till end of turn.
So it's Dragonaut that's a wizard.
And cares about wizards.
And cares about wizards.
Yep.
This card has never, ever been constructed playable, but you will like just punk people out of limited games.
We're also going to Strixhaven, so keep that in mind. This into 4 wizards is a 9/3.
Like, Sprite Dragon into this, into just cast Ops and Shocks.
That's true.
I'm just going to cast all these spells and hope you're dead.
Yep.
Big money, no removal spell. Oh,
A braid.
Whammy.
Yep.
People are like, I don't get that reference.
Big money, no whammies.
Big money, no whammies.
So I probably shouldn't put this out there on the record for everybody to hear, but I say that every single time I fire up a car after doing a timing belt service at work. I say, big money, no whammies.
You're like, okay. He's like a train technician, folks.
I just think it's funny. It messes with the new guys. Well, what do you mean?
What do you mean, no whammies? What is the biggest whammy you can think of, sir? That is the whammy we're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
That's basically me when I do any service to my car.
Big money, no whammies.
Exactly. Oh, change the windshield wiper blades. Oh, man, I hope these things stay on. Let's go.